So what's the best webcam that you can get in 2024? I'm going to take you through 6 different options, starting from what you already probably have, which is in your laptop. But these laptop webcams, or the one you might have in a tablet, or the front-facing one on a phone, are typically pretty poor quality. So I'm going to start there. I'm going to talk about this. This is the Logitech C900 series, which lives on top of my computer and I barely ever use, but it's there. The OBSBOT Tiny, and although this video isn't sponsored, they did send me this for review and they asked me to make a bit of a comparison, and they wanted to be in the first half of the video. And they also wanted to let you know that that is on a great deal on Prime Big Deal Days on Amazon. So there's a link in the description for that as well. And also another company that I have worked with before, IPEVO, and this is one of my favorite ones. This is the IPEVO Totem 120. And then I'll also talk about what I do when I go live, which is to use an expensive interchangeable lens mirrorless camera, plug that in as a webcam as well. So I'll talk about how you can get the best quality out of that. And then finally, what if you want to go for the premium option, which is the fixed PTZ camera. With this one, this is the IPEVO PTZ here, which again, they did send out for review. So I will be comparing these and talking about what you can buy, what you get for all the different price ranges, and what the benefits and the drawbacks of each are. And as it's getting pretty crowded here on this desk with all of these webcams, I think I'll go through to the conservatory to try that out. Here we go then. Well, let's get started. This is the ordinary built-in webcam. And okay, they did kind of promote this as having some clever little microphones. It's got a 3-point microphone, but really, I'm sure you'll hear on here when you're listening to this microphone, the webcam is pretty poor. And there are some interesting AI features now on built-in webcams. For instance, this has automatic framing. Well, I can't seem to turn that one on. It does eye contact, which is really, really bad in my opinion. Okay, so it sort of gives you a fake pair of eyes to make you look like you're always looking straight down the camera. And you can have background effects like blur or some kind of creative filters. But apart from that, I'm not sure that there's much to say for a laptop webcam like that. It's probably the cheapest component in your laptop. They're wanting to save money somewhere, and they presume if you're going to buy a decent laptop that you're probably happy to spend a bit of money on a good webcam, an external webcam, and actually frame it up properly. One of the things about this is it's often lower than you, and so you're often getting this kind of up the nose shot. So if you do need to use this, then one thing you can do is you can actually elevate the laptop on a stand maybe, such that you are getting a better sort of portrait shot. But it's there. So the reason to use it is because it's included and there's zero setup and there's no extra wires, of course. And it should therefore work seamlessly with the software that comes pre-installed on the laptop, and it should go straight into any Zoom meetings, all of those things, or Teams, etc. But as you can see, the image is quite grainy and noisy. I don't look very good even if I've got the sort of creative filters or anything like that on. So I don't recommend this if you want to look and sound professional. It is okay though for quick bits to colleagues. So if your colleague just needs to speak to you about something, that's the reason why all devices have individual webcams in them, so you can quickly have those quick chats. The mics in them are usually pretty poor, but again, they should work seamlessly with the hardware and the software that's on there, so they should be quite good at rejecting background noise and rejecting reverb, feedback, etc. Now you also do have one other camera which is usually a little bit better, because phones do ship with better cameras than generally tablets and laptops do, because people buy phones on the basis of their cameras. But don't use the front-facing selfie camera, because that's never as good as the rear camera is. And your mileage may vary depending on your model, but many of them now have modes where you can actually use one of the webcams and have it streamed directly into the computer, either by a USB wire or wirelessly. So look into that. If you're not sure what to use and you don't have anything other than the built-in webcam, probably the one in your phone is slightly better. That's the cheapest though, because you already have it. One step up from that is this. This is a Logitech C900. I'm not exactly sure the exact model I've got, but there's a huge range of Logitech C900s. Yeah, I've got the C920, currently £60. It was £100 when I bought it. It's a 1080p webcam, just like the one on here, but it is a slightly better quality webcam than the one that's built into most laptops. So let's plug it in. Usually it sits just on top of a laptop like that, and that's generally good enough. I was getting some weird flicker, and I think that was to do with Windows rather than to do with the actual camera itself, so I'm not sure why. I've switched to recording on OBS, so we should be fine now. So the Logitech C900 series, a little bit more expensive, and it does look a little bit better. This is a 1080p webcam, although they do go up, I think, to 4K now. This is one of the best-selling webcams for good reason. It's got a better quality microphone than what is ordinary built in to laptops, and the sensor is a little bit bigger than the tiny little one in the webcam there. It's very easy to use, it's very easy to control. It's got, as I said, a halfway decent microphone, and there are newer options with better resolutions. One problem with it, it's got a very wide angle and you can't really control that. There's no zoom with it. And if you're having to put it on top of a monitor like this, it's difficult to position and you still get that kind of up the nose kind of shot. However, this does have a attachment and you can screw it on top of a tripod, so you could actually place this just about anywhere that you wanted. So that's a benefit of that as well. And one thing is, it also, as I find on my desk when I use this, that it does a lot of focus hunting. Doesn't seem to be doing much now, which is good, but it tends to do quite a lot of focus hunting. So that's one nuisance of it. That's when a camera kind of comes in and out of focus and it never looks good. It's very easy to mount because you can just put it on top of a monitor. And we're really going to get a microphone test now because somebody's doing their gardening next door. So we will see. And if you just want to get the cheapest way to upgrade from the camera that's built into your laptop, then I suggest this is a good way to go. It should be your first thought, and it's something you can benchmark all of the others against. If it doesn't beat this, then it's not worth spending more than £70 on. But if you're using this in anything apart from the perfect lighting conditions, which these aren't perfect lighting conditions because it's very much backlit here, I'm really testing this out here, it is doing a good job of actually exposing for my face. But in darker conditions, this image really falls apart and becomes very noisy very easily. So you deserve a better quality image than this, I think. And if you do want to look a bit more professional, you should certainly look to upgrade a little bit beyond the C920. So next up, it is the OBSBOT Tiny 2, which is absolutely great. Firstly, it's a 4K webcam. It's costing quite a little bit more, but you can find out its latest price from the link in the description. Because it is so small, it not only has a mount for a tripod underneath, but you can also magnetically attach it to this, and this thing can sit on top of your screen. So it's small enough to mount just like the C920, but you can also put that wherever you like on a tripod as well. Big benefits of it, you've got 4K, but importantly, you've got quite a large sensor for a small webcam like this. And that is going to give you a really high quality image. One of the most important things to look out for on any webcam is the sensor size. And because it's bigger, it's going to have better performance in lower light. I'm just going to go ahead and download and install its own software because it does have more options to control it through the OBSBOT software. But it can do the AI tracking without that into any recording app or any streaming software. It does have a range of options built in for using voice commands, and you don't need to use the software for that. And there's also an option to buy a remote, which again, you don't need to have the software running to use that. More good microphone tests then. You can see it is on AI tracking mode. It does a great job of exposing you. There is a way to use this to sort of frame yourself up. I can have it track upper body or do a close-up. It's also got these interesting desk modes and hand mode as well, so it can sort of face down to show you what's on the desk, or it could track your hand potentially. If you wanted to show something that you were doing, maybe you were drawing something, or maybe a piece of art or something you were making, you can actually track your hand, and you can choose left hand or right hand as well. You can also set presets with the gimbal, so you can manually control the camera and then you can set those presets and you can have it come back to those exact spots. That's good as well. The microphones in it are decent, and you've been listening to a little bit of those as we're going, but I would still recommend a wireless lavalier microphone, especially if you're moving around. One thing about it, it does have a 4K sensor, but it's a digital zoom camera, so it's a pan, tilt and digital zoom camera really. So if you are zooming in beyond 2 times, you're actually getting less than 1080p quality, which is sort of lower than we really expect these days. Although in a video call, that wouldn't be too bad. You can go down as low as standard definition really for streaming on the internet. That zoom is only limited to 4 times, which when we see an alternative in a PTZ camera, we'll see how that can be better. One thing I'd say is make sure that if you do buy this, make sure you try it out and you're really comfortable with using it before you go live, because you don't want it to accidentally be tracking your feet or something in the middle of a live stream. This is a great price and it's a tiny camera, and also you can point it anywhere around the room in 360 degrees, which is one of the only ones that can do that, which I'm just showing you today. And OBSBOT asked me to let you know that it's 15% off on Prime Big Deal Days. It's good, and it's certainly tiny. With an extra 5% off with my link, which you can find in the description. So that's an already great value camera, discounted even more. The next one on the list is the Totem 120. It's a similar kind of price bracket as the OBSBOT Tiny 2. I really like this one. Now, instead of going for pan, tilt, zoom, they've gone for something that can use digital zoom and digital panning to actually give you the options of different framings. You can change how wide the camera is as well, because it has two cameras actually built into this. And you can also change the field of view by just selecting which one of those two cameras you wish to use. It's my favorite IPEVO, that's for sure. And the reason for that is because it's a very versatile desktop visualizer. You can use it in this webcam mode, but you can also tilt it down to be a document camera. And that is something which I use a lot in my teaching online. It also has an AI noise cancelling microphone built in, which you've been listening to so far. And here's it with the AI noise cancelling off now. So it's a great meeting room camera. And if you're looking for something that can be versatile to capture yourself at times, give you those more close-up angles when you want it, and give it a wider angle to get in several people. And it will also do tracking and framing as well, what we call AI stage. So if other people come in, it will frame them up as well. And then be useful for showing things on your desk as well. One thing about it is I often end up putting it, like I've got it now, to one side of the laptop, and that means that you're kind of looking at the laptop screen rather than looking at it. So you have to sort of train yourself to make eye contact with the camera itself. A better place for it really is to put it behind the screen like so. But I always end up forgetting and putting it off to one side. The noise cancelling microphone is not perfect, but it is going to be better than what's built into your laptop. One thing about it I've found is it does get really hot. And so that kind of moving up and down and changing its position is quite uncomfortable at that point. And it does have a fixed USB-C cable. So if you only have USB-A input, then you do need to have an adapter. And if you need that cable to go a very long distance, again, you've got that technical issue to overcome. I've had this for a long time now, and it's been my go-to for meetings or for teaching on stuff on my desk. It's a really versatile camera that I would highly recommend you have a look at. It's also, like the OBSBOT Tiny, it's very good value. And we're getting into stuff that actually, when people see you using this, they're going to think, wow, that's a much more professional setup than just what's built into your laptop. Next, and I think this is actually one of the best setups that you can do, I've been speaking to you mainly on a camera called the Canon R50, and that is a mirrorless interchangeable lens camera. So it's got the largest sensor of the entire bunch here, and I'm going to actually plug it in now with one USB cable straight into my laptop and use it as a webcam. So I think this is the best quality option that you've got, certainly. This is also one of the most difficult ones to set up, and actually this is the third time I've had a go at filming this. It just didn't record the first time, and then it crashed my computer the second time. But it is worth it. It's worth it because you've got the largest sensor camera and you've got the best quality glass in front of it. So you should have the best looking image, most pleasing image. This is the Canon R50, and really you could see that as any interchangeable lens camera that can do a USB output directly to a computer. So this is just plug in playing, and the computer is seeing it just as a 1080p webcam. Many Sony cameras do this as well, but look out on the spec sheet because it's really only more recent cameras that do this direct USB mode. Most of them before that, they can put out a signal by HDMI, but you need to use a capture card, which costs about $20 really to plug that then into the USB to use it as a webcam. So look out for that on the spec sheet, whether it can do that. Some of the Sony cameras only do it at 720p, but this one, the Canon, does it at 1080p, which I think is really worth having. Now, the larger the sensor, the better the quality image, and you get that kind of separation, we call it bokeh, where if you look here, you can probably see that I'm in focus and the background is quite blurred, and that's because of the large sensor and the nice large aperture lens. It's a professional looking image, and that's the kind of look that we associate with professional video cameras and with portraits. So that is the kind of look that you want to go for if you want the most professional looking image. And people will see something like this and think, oh wow, that does look more professional than a standard webcam. And because it's a full professional camera, you've got all the control over the image, like the f-stop, like the ISO, like the white balance, so you can really fine tune it to make it look as good as you can. That being said, all of those options do make it a really difficult setup. So out of all of them, it's the most challenging to set up. You will need, of course, a proper tripod to stand it on. There's no standing on top of your monitor here. And for meetings, if I'm honest, it is a bit overkill. But for me as a tech YouTuber doing things like live streams, I do need those videos to look as good as they possibly can. And so for me, it's a must to get that upgrade in quality. And I've even added a teleprompter that sits on the lens in front of the camera, and that means I can actually have the meeting image, so the people I'm talking to, in front of the camera. So I'm looking directly at them, I'm looking directly into the camera lens, importantly, and maintaining eye contact therefore. And of course, in my live streams, I can have my notes what I'm going to be talking about throughout the meeting. So a good option if you're willing to put up with the headaches of setting it up. And finally, and I've had to move it quite a long way back for this, it's the PTZ webcam from IPEVO. This is a very expensive webcam though compared to all of the other options. This is the type of thing that you're best to go ahead and put in a place because it does take a bit of setting up. It's more than one cable. I've got it using USB to the laptop today, but it does have the benefit of having full optical zoom and a full 4K resolution through that 10 times optical zoom. One disadvantage of it is that it has no built-in microphone, but you certainly wouldn't want to be speaking at something which was that far away in the room. So let's go ahead and show you the full range of that optical zoom now. It does have autofocus, there we are. So that's pretty impressive. You can also use the AI tracking mode and you can set presets as well. That's gone back to its sort of straight on mode. That's in tracking mode now. So that's really good if you're trying to track a speaker across a large auditorium maybe. And this type of thing should be your first thought if you're looking to set up a streaming solution for a large auditorium where the camera is going to be fixed. So it does need to be powered externally. You can't just power it straight off a laptop. It does need to be either fixed onto a wall or a ceiling or put semi-permanently on a tripod, but they are great. And you've got 4K quality with 10 times optical zoom. And so you could have like two of these at the back of an auditorium maybe, one to track the speaker, one to track the demos or maybe the full stage, or to zoom in on the whiteboard or the slides that they're presenting. It is good quality here. I do wish it had a larger sensor actually, but that's a bit of a trade-off. You've got the 10 times optical zoom. You do have actually a smaller sensor than even in the Tiny 2, the 4K PTZ camera that I showed you before. Again, it operates autonomously. It does all the tracking itself on the device, but you can also get the IPEVO software and give you a bit more control over that. And importantly, it can be hooked directly into a network. So you can actually put it via Ethernet to be streaming directly to a cloud location. Or you can use HDMI out, which will be the best quality probably, or you can use USB, which is what I've got it on there now. The downsides are it's not cheap. It's last in this list because it is the most expensive of all of the webcam options that I'm presenting today. And the IPEVO one though is a very good value for what it is. The Canon and the Sony varieties of the PTZ camera, they get to absolutely silly money. There we are. I hope that was useful to you. Let me know in the comments which one you're going to go for. Are you going to go for the simple setup that's easy to use and that you probably already have in your pocket? Or are you going to spend a bit of money to actually get one of these more professional setups? Don't forget the links in the description to check out the latest prices on Amazon, especially if you're taking advantage of Amazon Prime deal days.